What is up, Terps fans? We're back after a win. 2 wins in a row, which feels honestly just kind of crazy to say at this point, given where we were in the season or how we're feeling about things even a week ago. Realistically, I kind of forgot what it felt like to be on a win streak. So, kind of nice. I know it's not against like the best competition, but they just beat Iowa 77-70. Iowa absolutely kicked their butts the last time, so it's just nice to get a little payback. Obviously, we didn't beat them by quite the same margin, but any win is a win at this point in the season. The Terps moved to 10-14 on the year, 3-10 in the Big Ten here. Man, just let's say that again, a winning streak. I honestly wasn't sure where it would be the last time Jeff and I did a podcast together after whatever game that was, the Ohio State game. We set the over-under at 1.5 more games they would win this year. Well, they've now won 2, so already blown through expectations for the remainder of the season here. At this rate, this looks like a team that could go maybe be competitive, maybe even win in the college basketball crown, the postseason championship that Fox puts on with all of the really lackluster Power 5 programs. So maybe, maybe there's a chance. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting crazy after just 2 wins here, but I'll take it. I'd rather be optimistic about maybe just a little momentum to end the season here would be kind of nice. And Nebraska, I'm pretty sure, won that tournament last year, and look how much better they're playing this year. So maybe that would be a nice way for the Terps to end the season here. The Crown is also played after the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, so it's kind of weird, and it's out in Vegas. And I don't know, I wouldn't mind having another excuse to go out in Vegas and cover a few more Maryland games. So something to think about here. I apologize, everybody, for not doing a recap after the Minnesota game. It was weird with the Super Bowl. And honestly, I was just kind of tired. I wasn't sure that they would win on the road, and I just needed I needed the day here. So I won't go back and retroactively do a whole recap of that game for you. But from that one, just have to talk for a second about Mr. Dickie Coit. The man is just an absolute, he's a blessing. Like, honestly, for a really tough Terp season, he's going to be a fun guy to remember. And honestly, at this point, I'm just kind of bummed we don't get him back. Like, if you continue to build out next year's roster the way it's looking with a Mills-Adams backcourt combo, it would be it'd be great to have Coit as that kind of three-headed monster, even microwave scorer off the bench type. And he does seem more comfortable coming off the bench. In the Minnesota game, which the Terps won 67-62, Coit had 29 points, 9 of 13 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 7 of 7 from the line. Also had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, had a block shot, which is icing on the cake. I couldn't enjoy him more. The Fats Russell season is something that I think people have mentioned a few times. I've connected with Coit more, just he resonates more with me. I've mentioned this before. Guys I am friends with coached him in prep school, so love seeing him do well because he's, by all accounts, just like a really good dude. And obviously, he had to work super hard. You've all heard his story to get where he is, so just an easy guy to root for. And I love to see them have just like a few moments. Obviously, it's still like an overall holistic train wreck here at this point, but of a season. But it's nice just to have a couple moments of like, yeah, this was cool. Let's let's just enjoy it. Let's bask in it here a little bit. All right, with that one, let's pivot over to the Iowa game. Again, the Terps win this one 77-70. I'm going to go through my notes, which are in kind of random order here a little bit. JLU Flock Prods in the chat, thank you for jumping in here. Andre Mills has to be a 100% retain next year. And B-Town Bones 21, Mills going downhill has been such a difference the last 2 games. He means going downhill like driving to the rim, not his game is going downhill. It's actually going uphill in that way because he's been going downhill as a driver. So I'm following you here. I'm definitely going to talk a lot about Mills on this one, so buckle up if you're a Mills fan. That's coming. I just want to start with like one really simple thing right out of the gate. I really enjoyed the move to start Colin Metcalf. He was like a total write this off. Whatever money this guy was getting in that NIL was still too much. And he's not putting up crazy numbers, but just like 20 plus minutes of just like be big, try to get some boards, and just be like some beef in the paint for a team that's been so undersized, I think has really helped. And it's just another body that teams have to try to box out. And I think that's huge for them in that Minnesota game, he only had 4 points and 3 rebounds. Also had an assist, which was cool. Had a steal in that game. Played only 19 minutes, but I thought they helped. And he just he could pick up some fouls and be a big dude to hard foul people. He's giving you a little bit of enforcer vibes, which this Terps team kind of doesn't really have otherwise. But I actually thought it was as good a 1 point performance as you can have in this Iowa game. Again, finishes with 1 point, takes 0 field goal attempts officially because he got fouled the only time he tried to put one up. Has 8 rebounds, 2 of them were offensive, which was nice. Again, picks up 4 fouls, but who cares? Go out there. He did have a couple tough turnovers, which I'm sure Buzz would want back, if possible. But I'm okay with it. If you play hard enough, dude, we can excuse that other kind of stuff because it means those are excitement turnovers sometimes, or just the guy hasn't been playing a lot, so he doesn't maybe have his sea legs quite the same way. So I'm totally willing to write that off if you just go give energy and effort, which I think he has definitely done. He had 3 blocks in this game, played 24 meaningful minutes. So just shout out to Colin Metcalf, former guest of the pod here, for doing his thing. Also, just want to take a minute to talk about Elijah Saunders. Did not do much from a box score perspective in the Minnesota game. But was a +9 plus minus wise. He was meaningful, I thought. He just didn't make shots, but he had 2 points, was 1 of 6 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3, only 2 rebounds. I thought he boxed out really well, maybe as corny as that may sound, but I think that's important, and it allowed some of these other guys, especially Solo, to go get a lot of those rebounds, and it was just a good team rebounding game overall in that Minnesota game. But Saunders, even 0 for 5, he didn't hesitate. And I felt like that was something we saw a lot from him earlier in the season, was just well, should I shoot it? I don't know. And in this Iowa game, he finishes with 12 points, 3 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, has 8 rebounds, very meaningful rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. Not the crazy biggest box score. He played 39 minutes though. That's the most impressive thing. Mills plays 40, which is also kind of nuts to think about. So just shout out Elijah Saunders. He took a lot of shit from us as a fan base throughout the year, and this is much more the guy I expected. If you listen to this podcast from the start, even before we had Elijah on, the only other Terp from this team who's been a guest on the podcast, so shout out to him. I had such high expectations for him, and this is more along the lines of the guy I expected. 12 and 8 every kind of game is really where I thought this guy would be, because he has the talent to do that, and that is what he looked like down the stretch for UVA last year. But I think, again, the not hesitating thing is huge, and just knowing dude, we're not great as a team. This team wants you and needs you and trust you to hit open shots, and we will just live with the results if you don't make them. It seems like he's just kind of freed up mentally. He even took a motion or an off movement 3 tonight at the top of the key, kind of coming around a screen or curled around a screen, and you're just oh, okay. And you hit it off the back of the rim, and I think someone else on the Terps got that rebound, but I was just happy to see him take it. And again, you can live with someone missing shots like that, especially if they're playing hard and doing the right things. And I think as a stretch 4, if teams guard you like you can shoot it, that's really more important sometimes than making shots. And again, 2 of 5 is a perfectly good percentage for your power forward. We can certainly work with that. And I think just that impact that he has of teams having to respect him as a shooter. And the thing we talked about with him is can you be a near 40% shooter? Well, before tonight's game, he was 38.8% on about 4 attempts per game. So that's meaningful. It's a notable thing. And I think that's just something I wanted to make sure that we mentioned and shouted out here on the show, because I want to give these guys credit where it's due. And I'm not saying throw a parade or hang a banner or anything like that. I am a Marylander through and through, so I understand the desire to be skeptical and snarky about any of these things, and it happens. So some percentage of you are going to be who gives a shit, they're 3-10, but let's just take the wins that we can get them, celebrate the few moral victories, as lame as that may ultimately sound here, but there are a few good positive takeaways here that I want to keep going through. The jump from both Mills And to some extent, Adams here has just been huge. And I think that's probably the biggest reason. I mean, obviously, Diggy in the Minnesota game was the biggest reason, but it's been the biggest reason this team looks more like a competent, at least Big Ten caliber team, like a low Big Ten caliber team. And they certainly would win the A10, but I got asked on the show at some point, like, where would they finish in the A10? I said, like, fifth or sixth. And even that I was, like, starting to feel bad about. But this at least looked like a team that belonged on a court with another Big Ten team. This is a ranked Iowa team. It's Maryland's first ranked win of the year. Granted, they were at 25, and that was basically because there's really no one else really worthy of being ranked. But they've been better recently. They're 21 in the net. Like, their resume on paper from a Metro perspective, this is a good Iowa team. So this isn't just like we beat an absolute bottom feeder. But no, they're not Purdue, Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, Illinois, and the top of the Big Ten here either. They're like a solid, good middle team, which is kind of where I thought the Terps would be. So shout out to them for just getting a good win here. But I want to stay with Mills here and to some extent Adams. These look like pieces. And Mills is a redshirt freshman. Adams is a true freshman. Like they're guys that you want to invest in to JLU's point here in the chat. Like you need to bring these two guys back. And if that's all the rest of the season is the chance to grow and figure out what they can or can't do and how to supplement them in the portal moving forward, that's huge. Both of them I love as drivers. We mentioned the downhill aspect that B-Town Bones brought up. Like that would be supported so much more by having additional shooters on the court. And I just hyped out Elijah Saunders, so I don't mean this disrespectfully, but like next year's stretch four, Bobo Olotun is considerably more talented on paper. Now, as he maybe is physically ready to play college basketball as a senior, we'll see. But I trust him to come in and draw a lot of attention as a scorer. And what these guys could do with open driving lanes, especially if you have Pharrell Payne back as now a vertical spacer or a lob threat. Like, okay, all right, we can add one more guard or a shooting wing. Like this starts to look really, really interesting here too, especially if you can bring, I don't know, maybe even bring somebody like Adams off the bench next year or Mills off the bench or whatever the combo is. That would be something if you had like one more big time guard to go in this rotation with them. I do think it was funny. I obviously recognize LaFonso Ellis' voice. I did not catch who the play-by-play broadcaster was in this game. But Adams hit a three early, and the play-by-play guy goes, "Adams could do that all day." And it's like, I mean, yes, he can shoot them all day, and there are some games where he's not shy or not gun shy about getting those 3-point attempts up. But again, he is shooting 25.7% from three on 4.5 attempts going into this particular game. So I think if you were Iowa, you probably would have lived with him shooting them all day. So I just thought that was a little funny, and it ended up being the only three that Adams made in this entire game. So Adams finishes 11 points, 5-7 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, picked up 4 fouls. One of them was like a particularly cheap one, in my opinion, which I want to circle back to some of the foul calls. But he plays 26 minutes, and they were pretty solid. And I think the thing for Adams is just he is a real slasher, and he's just shifty and slithery, and he's probably like annoying to guard because he's not crazy explosive. He looks like he's pretty long, but that could just be the optical illusion from the long sleeve shirt. But it feels like he's just kind of herky-jerky enough that it makes him a tough cover. And again, he's doing this with very little daylight, but he seems to find a way to do it. And when he can get you on his hip, he's a very good finisher when he can be crafty and creative. When he struggles is when people like kind of bully him around and he can't get to the lane quite the same way here. So that's great. Just circling back now to Mills here. Twice tonight, Solomon Washington encouraged him to continue to push. And that's, again, if you listen to this podcast, that is the thing I've been wanting to see from this group is just not even go like crazy up tempo, but be selectively more willing to push the ball and try to attack a defense before it can get set. When you don't have shooters, letting them get set and then trying to play at them, 5-on-5, it just doesn't make any sense. And if you're Mills, like a pretty good rebounding guard, you're one of the few grab-and-go guys that is a real transition threat because you're just enough of a threat to shoot it. He goes 3 of 6 from 3 tonight, 9 of 14 overall. Gets to the line 5 times, makes 3 of them. Like to see those free throws go in a little bit more, but he puts pressure on you, and I think that's the thing. Like he's one of the few guys that puts constant rim pressure on a defense on this Maryland team entirely. So this is a 2 game stretch against not like the top end of the Big Ten here, obviously, as I already said, but this Mills, Adams, Coit, like backcourt rotation looked, at least in these 2 games, like the more dynamic trio compared to these other teams that they played, which is really kind of wild to think about. I mean, Bennett Sturts had 32 points, and they could very much they couldn't do much with him, but in terms of like a core group of guys, it was really just like him and some dudes. Banks had a pretty good game overall, but like Maryland's 3-man group these 2 games, I think has been like an advantage for them, and I just don't think that we were expecting to see that based on where we were here again, like even a week ago a little bit. So again, Mills, the rim pressure, I think that's super important against a team like Iowa. Like 77-70 is an up-tempo game for the way this Iowa team wants to play. Ben McCollum was like at the very bottom of Division One at Drake last year in terms of tempo. So that's a huge deal for this team, is to be able to just push them into the 70s. It means you were selectively pushing things. So that's pretty cool to see. I'm excited about where this team can go here in the future. So we'll see how it goes. It's still 3-10 in the Big Ten. But the wins are the wins, and I want to just take the time to continue to celebrate the things that work here. Also, the play-by-play guy tonight comparing Solomon Washington to Dennis Rodman. I thought it's probably cool to hear if you're Solomon Washington or Solomon Washington's family getting that kind of comp. He looks to score even a little bit more, in my opinion, than somebody like Rodman ever did. So maybe like a Gerald Wallace, like a kind of slashery type is maybe a slightly better comp. But either way, just kudos to Washington for continuing to be like the emotional leader of this team. And I mean this in the most respectful way possible, but like every team needs a crazy guy. Like you need a crazy MFer on your team that the guy wearing like the black Air Force Ones that would like throw a punch on the playground. Like if somebody looks at his teammate the wrong way, like Solo has that kind of like crazy energy about him in a like a good chaotic kind of way. And I think other teams feel that. And just 2 of the fouls that he picked up tonight were just like absolutely bogus. And I have no problem saying that. And I think that foul trouble limited him a little bit in where he could and couldn't be aggressive. But finishes with 10 points on 3 of 5 shooting, 4 of 7 from the line. Again, need my guy to slightly pick that up here. I know it's not his strong suit. Only took 1 3, which is probably better for the Terps. But I want to circle back to the threes here in a minute, but has 8 rebounds and just did a lot of other stuff. Again, 3 turnovers, but I don't really mind the turnovers in most situations when you're like trying to be aggressive and trying to put the defense on its heels. Like you can live with that. They finished with 14 as a team, and that's right after the heels of the Minnesota game where they had 10. Like that's still better than where they were at different points here during the season. So I think. For the Terps, we're like starting to see the recipe of what buzzball really looks like here too. This is the faint outlines of the team they intended to build the season, and we're seeing some of the blueprint for how they expected it to really come together here. And I think for the Terps, it's very noticeable that they are shooting less threes, which is great. There's more intentionality in how they're trying to get to the rim here, which I think is a big deal. In that Minnesota game, as a team, only 24 3-point attempts, which they made 7 of them. That's 29%. Maybe 1 or 2 more go in. That would be nice to see, but ultimately not bad. They won the rebounding battle in that game by 3. Points in the paint, they won by 18. They got to the free throw line more times in the Minnesota game. And then tonight in this Iowa game, a lot of the same. Like the formula was consistent. They hit 1 more 3 than Iowa did, despite taking 5 less, which was huge. So 8 of 23, that's 35%. I've said it all year. If this Maryland team could just hit 35+%, that puts you in a pretty good standing to be competitive in games, at least with the way they want to play. They got to the line 11 more times than Iowa did, which was also great to see. They out-rebounded them 34-25, also great to see. Iowa did have more points in the paint than them, which I thought was definitely a problem, and some of that was just how much pressure they were applying to Terps. I think Solomon Washington is your best defender, so him having to guard the other team's point guard also meant he couldn't guard some of these other guys that would hopefully keep the points in the paint a little bit lower. But the Terps did their own damage there. So Iowa outscores them 34-30 in the paint, and that's okay. Maryland only got credit for 4 fast break points in this game, which it just felt to me like they got more from Solomon or more from Andre Mills by himself in transition than that. So that was a little weird to see as a stat here. But yeah, those two guards really taking the jump that they are is something here. Let's see, B-Town Bones 21. Solo is also showing a little more offense, but needs to be careful with that elbow shrug. Yeah, he does kind of hook sometimes too a little bit here, but that's okay. Yeah, when you're not a particularly deep team, you do need him to be a little more judicious about when he's picking up some of these fouls, and I know he can control over them. I just said 2 of them I thought were bogus tonight of the 3 that he had, but at least one of them for sure was. Alex K 5912. Sorry, I couldn't see that for a second. I think Buzz has finally found his rotation. Maybe. Yeah, this is a good point in the season to have kind of landed on who are the guys that you feel comfortable putting out on the floor to do what you do. B-Town Bones again. They still don't run much of a coherent offense. Watching in the arena, you just see 3 or 4 guys standing around looking at the ball. It's interesting. I do feel like sometimes, especially when Diggy is out there is some standing around, and it's him and maybe the guy that sets the screen for him a little bit, and then ultimately the step back, and then guys crash from there. So there definitely are moments where they're a little stagnant. I wonder about some of that is just playing slow and trying to ISO on one side of the court and then send everybody else to the glass. But it's working a little bit better, whatever they're doing there. Kyrie Walker 1 in the chat. Maybe that Kyrie Walker. Don't know for sure there, but if it is, shout out Kyrie Walker. Got the couple of the Terps he's hyping up here. Andre was hooping tonight. Solo was hooping. The whole team was hooping. I would wholeheartedly agree with that from Kyrie Walker 1. B-Town Bones. I almost had to buy the $350 signed DQ jersey after the Purdue game to feel something. So happy to actually see a win again tonight. Absolutely, man. I'm completely with you. I also got the signed Steve Francis jersey. I'm still waiting to get framed, and it's going to go right up on the wall there over next to the edge of the bookshelf with the trophy case on there. So that's coming at some point here, maybe before the end of the season. I will put that up there. Let's see, JLU. Mills and Adams was using good IQ to keep driving on Sturts to try to take him out of the game. I'm seeing improvement in the group. Limit the turnovers. We beat Iowa by 20, and we hang with some of the best. Yeah, I think they're still, even the way that they're playing now, a pretty noticeable tier down from those elite teams. But can you just keep stacking some wins here? The next game is a very winnable game. They play Rutgers on Sunday. That's February 15th, at 12 p.m. at Rutgers at whatever Jersey Mike's Arena, even though there's no Jersey Mike's or anywhere around the arena, which, whatever. Yeah, that's a winnable game. Rutgers is not good, and this Iowa team is definitely better than this Rutgers team. It is on the road, so that obviously adds a little bit to it, but I kind of think this Minnesota team is probably better than Rutgers, and they just beat them too. So I think this is a doable one. So I think that's pretty good. B-Town Bones, bad free throw percentage, and getting beat heavily on points off turnovers every game needs to be corrected. But we have a winnable stretch here. Yeah, absolutely. There are still some things where some of the turnovers are so bad they lead to runouts, and when you're a Maryland team that is a little offensively challenged, to say at least, you can't afford to give up too many free points. But I think in terms of points off turnovers tonight, Iowa only had 9, which again it felt a little more than that. I sometimes wonder about how some of those stats they're ultimately calculated here. The fast break ones I thought was a little weird. In this game, Iowa had 5 fast break points to Maryland's 4, but the same stat for the Minnesota game, also 5-4. So that felt a little weird. Minnesota also only scored 13 of their points off of Maryland turnovers, so it felt worse in the moment for sure. But I agree with you, especially on the free throw shooting. Can't afford to leave any of those points on the table, especially when so much of your offense has been geared around going out and trying to get like easy points at the line here too. So we'll see. But again, this is the bones of buzzball. Like, beat people on the boards, get to the line, get to the rim when possible. I love the not chucking 35 threes a game. That is absolutely like music to my old man basketball affinity here. So that was awesome here. The point paints are great. So I'm excited about that. There were 5 double-digit scores for the Terps here tonight. 10 different lead changes in the game overall, which is cool. The other thing that was interesting, Maryland is 7-1 this season when they lead at the half. So it is so important for a team like this to get off to good starts, especially when you're relying on some of these freshman guards. I think it gives them a little confidence, helps them settle in a little bit, but also just scoreboard pressure on these other teams. Like, for Maryland, when you can't really shoot or out 3-point shoot most of the teams you're playing, it's hard to get down and come back. And I think they've just dug themselves some big holes against some of these other better teams in the conference. And it's nice to see them just not allowing that to happen quite so much. Just a programming note here on the show, there probably will not be a like formal preview for the Rutgers game, but I am supposed to have Colby on the show to talk recruiting on Friday. So if you have any questions for Colby, find me on the IMS message board if you want to do that, or at Matt Modderno on Twitter. Send me a DM. We'll talk about anything recruiting related that you want, and we can just hit Colby up for some questions. And I think that should be a pretty fun one. Just thought it was a nice change of pace from you guys listening to me talk about Rutgers, for another 20 minutes or whatever. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm glad to have a win. I think just to kind of circle back and give a quick recap of the recap here. Andre Mills, really good, career high 24 points. Darius Adams, efficient 11 points. Love to see that. Elijah Saunders playing like the Elijah Saunders we wanted to see. Solomon Washington is just the aggressive energy dude that you love here, the beating heart of the team, which is awesome. Dickie Coit is just Dickie Coit. Will never be able enough nice words I can say about that man, with 19 points again here tonight. And shout out Colin Metcalf, the 1 point but like clutch 8 rebound performance, and they needed every one of those boards tonight too. So I'm glad to see him getting some shine here. Also got a few minutes from Isaiah Watts and Alex Austin, which didn't really contribute much. So really a 6-man rotation for Buzz here. But hey, go with the guys that are getting it done for you and doing the things you wanted them to do. I do kind of wonder if we see somebody like Miles Rice again this season. Kind of question mark at this point. I don't know what the injury is because we don't really talk about those things with this program. So it's kind of be interesting to see what his status is moving forward. But just rock with those 6 guys until you have a reason to do something otherwise. And B-Town Bones says, appreciate Matt in the chat. I appreciate you, so thanks for jumping in. And we can probably say that the pod with Colby will be live on like 2:30-ish on Friday. So if you're around, anybody wants to jump in the chat here on the YouTube channel, please, 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 is the one thing I ask. Hit the like button for us here on YouTube. Even if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, if you want to go back over to YouTube for us and hit like, we appreciate that too. Helps other Terps fans find the show, helps us grow what we're doing here, and hopefully we can just have more good wins to talk about throughout the season. Fear the turtle, fear the podcast, stay the course. Buzzball, baby. We are so back.